Pillow talk.
Oh.
Okay, rest your head on this pillow, and I will ask you.
Under the blinding flash of paparazzi lights, one woman's smile could silence the chaos. It wasn't just beautiful, it was magic, a symbol of warmth, hope, and heartbreak, all hidden behind one radiant curve of the lips. Her name was Julia Roberts, the girl from a small town in Georgia who would one day become Hollywood's brightest star. But behind the charm and laughter, there was a woman who had endured loneliness, loss, and the unrelenting pressure of perfection. How did she rise from a broken childhood to redefine what it meant to be a movie star? How did America's sweetheart survive the dark side of fame, the betrayals, the heartbreaks, and the headlines that tried to break her? This is the story of the woman who made the world fall in love with a smile, and the price she paid to keep it shining. To understand Julia Roberts, the legend, we must first meet Julia, the girl, long before the cameras ever found her. Julia Fiona Roberts was born on October 28, 1967, in Smyrna, Georgia, a quiet southern town where dreams felt far away. Her parents, Betty Lou and Walter Roberts, were struggling actors who ran a small theater school. They didn't have much money, but they had passion, and that passion ran in the family's blood. When Julia was just 4, her parents divorced. Her father moved away, and the once vibrant household fell into silence. She adored her dad, gentle, creative, full of warmth, but he passed away from cancer when she was only 10. That loss would leave a scar that never truly healed. It taught me, she would later say, that love and pain often come hand in hand. At home, her mother worked long hours while raising 3 children, Eric, Lisa, and little Julia. The Roberts kids spent evenings surrounded by scripts, costumes, and the hum of rehearsal rooms. Julia wasn't the loudest or the prettiest, but she was curious, funny, and endlessly imaginative. She dreamed of being a veterinarian once, until she realized she fainted at the sight of blood. So she turned to storytelling instead. In the dim light of that small Georgia theater, Julia discovered her first stage and her first escape. Her childhood wasn't golden, but it was real, full of longing, love, and quiet resilience. And though she didn't know it yet, the strength born from those early wounds would carry her all the way to Hollywood. At 17, Julia Roberts packed her dreams and a suitcase and left Georgia for New York City. She had no connections, no agent, and no plan. Just the same stubborn hope that had fueled her since childhood. She lived in a small apartment, working odd jobs while chasing auditions that almost always ended in rejection. Casting directors said she was too tall and too wide a smile, or simply not what we're looking for. But Julia didn't give up. I didn't know any better, she later laughed. I thought if I kept showing up, something would happen. Her older brother, Eric Roberts, had already found success as an actor. It was through him that Julia got her first small on-screen appearances, brief roles in television shows, and low-budget films that paid little but taught her everything about endurance. Her first real glimpse of Hollywood came in 1988, with Mystic Pizza, a modest romantic drama about 3 young women in a small-town pizzeria. The film wasn't a blockbuster, but audiences couldn't take their eyes off the tall girl, with the unruly hair and dazzling grin. Critics called her a revelation. Then came Steel Magnolias, 1989. Playing the fragile but radiant Shelby, Julia lit up the screen with authenticity and emotional depth. Her performance earned her an Academy Award nomination at just 22. And suddenly, the struggling waitress from New York was the newest star in Hollywood. In a world of polished perfection, she was refreshingly human. And in her smile, the audience found something real: hope, warmth, imperfection, and beauty. The gates of Hollywood had opened for Julia Roberts. But she was about to learn that fame brings not just light, but shadows. Hollywood was about to crown its new queen, and her name was Julia Roberts. In 1990, a romantic comedy changed everything. Pretty Woman, a modern Cinderella story about a street-smart woman who wins the heart of a wealthy businessman, could have been just another glossy fairy tale. But when Julia appeared on screen, something electric happened. She wasn't playing a role, she was the role. Her laugh, her sparkle, her mix of innocence and rebellion made audiences fall instantly in love. The film became a global phenomenon, earning over $400 million and transforming Julia Roberts into an international superstar. She was suddenly on every magazine cover, every talk show, every red carpet. Overnight, she wasn't just an actress, she was America's sweetheart, but fame, as always, came with a price. Paparazzi followed her everywhere. Every smile, every heartbreak, every moment of exhaustion became front-page news. The same charm that won hearts now made her a target. Her relationships, especially her engagement to actor Kiefer Sutherland, which collapsed just days before their wedding, became tabloid obsessions. Through it all, Julia stayed composed. Behind the camera flashes, she struggled to find balance. The girl who once dreamed quietly in Georgia now lived under constant scrutiny, yet her rise didn't slow. Sleeping with the Enemy, The Pelican Brief, My Best Friend's Wedding, Notting Hill. Each film cemented her as both a box office powerhouse and a beloved icon. She could make the world laugh, cry, and believe in love again. Her secret: authenticity. In a town built on illusion, Julia Roberts was real. Her emotions raw, her imperfections relatable, her laughter contagious. Hollywood had found its brightest light, but even the brightest stars cast shadows, and soon Julia would face the pressure of maintaining perfection at a height no one could truly live in. By the late 1990s, Julia Roberts wasn't just Hollywood's sweetheart. She was its most powerful woman. After a decade of rom-coms that made her a global favorite, she wanted more than charm and romance. She wanted substance, a role that would challenge her soul, not just showcase her smile. In 2000, she found it. Erin Brockovich, the true story of a single mother who took on a corrupt power company and won, became the defining moment of her career. Gone were the glamorous gowns and soft lighting. Julia played a raw, foul-mouthed, determined woman fighting for justice. Audiences saw a new Julia, fierce, vulnerable, unapologetically real. The performance earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress, the first woman ever to be paid $20 million for a single film. When she walked onto the Oscar stage, dressed in black and white vintage Valentino, she didn't just thank Hollywood, she conquered it. That night, Julia Roberts became more than a movie star. She became a symbol of female empowerment, proving that talent and tenacity could triumph in a male-dominated industry. Her laughter still filled theaters with Notting Hill and Runaway Bride. But behind the success, Julia began craving something quieter. Fame had given her everything, and taken nearly as much. Every headline dissected her love life. Every outing turned into a spectacle, she once joked. It's hard to have a private life when the world owns your smile. But the truth was more painful. The higher she climbed, the lonelier the summit became. Julia Roberts had reached the pinnacle of success, wealth, awards, adoration. But standing in the spotlight, she began to ask herself, was it worth it? The woman who had conquered Hollywood was about to face her most difficult role yet, learning to be human again. At the turn of the millennium, Julia Roberts stood at the summit of fame, adored, celebrated, untouchable. But behind that radiant smile, her life was far from perfect. In 1993, she shocked Hollywood by marrying country singer Lyle Lovett after a whirlwind romance that lasted only weeks. The media feasted on it. Beauty marries the beast, the tabloids mocked. Less than 2 years later, they divorced. Julia stayed silent, refusing to turn her heartbreak into a headline. I don't owe the world my pain, she once said. Still, the press wouldn't let go. Her relationships with actors, directors, and co-stars became tabloid gold. When she began seeing Daniel Moder, a cinematographer who was still married at the time, the gossip machine roared back to life. Julia was labeled a homewrecker, Hollywood's fallen angel. The woman once seen as America's sweetheart was suddenly painted as its villain. But while the world obsessed over rumors, Julia was quietly rebuilding herself. She withdrew from the spotlight, choosing reflection over revenge. Away from red carpets and cameras, she started to question what truly mattered. For the first time, she wasn't chasing applause, she was chasing peace. Friends described her as calmer, more grounded, more human than ever before. Fame had given her fortune, but it had also stripped her privacy, her innocence, her right to make mistakes, and through it all, she learned one painful truth. In Hollywood, people don't love you, they love the version of you they've created. So Julia decided to write a new version of her story, one no tabloid could touch. A story not about fame, but about freedom. When Julia Roberts met Daniel Moder on the set of The Mexican in 2000, something changed. He wasn't a superstar or a Hollywood power player. He was a quiet cinematographer who saw the woman, not the icon. Their connection was simple, genuine, and far removed from the chaos she had known for years. In 2002, they married in a small private ceremony at her ranch in Taos, New Mexico. No paparazzi, no glitz, just candles, friends, and the open desert sky. It was the beginning of a new chapter. Julia had finally escaped Hollywood's constant noise. Instead of premieres, she spent her days gardening, cooking, and raising her 3 children, twins Hazel and Phineas, and later Henry. She once said, "My family is my heart. Everything else is just frosting." For the first time, she allowed herself to slow down. She turned down roles, disappeared from tabloids, and embraced the quiet power of anonymity. Yet when she did return, in Closer, Eat, Pray, Love, and August Osage County, audiences saw a different Julia, wiser, deeper, more soulful. The woman, who once represented every girl's Hollywood dream, now embodied something greater: balance. She didn't need constant applause to feel alive anymore. In interviews, her tone changed too, from charming and guarded to calm and reflective. "Success used to mean being everywhere," she admitted. "Now it means being exactly where I want to be." Julia Roberts had transformed from a movie star into something more enduring, a woman who had learned to protect her peace in a world built on chaos. Her smile was still there, but now it came from somewhere far deeper. Not from performance, but from purpose. More than 3 decades after Pretty Woman, Julia Roberts remains one of the most recognizable faces on Earth. Yet her legacy reaches far beyond fame or fortune. She didn't just play characters, she defined an era of cinema. In the 1990s, her name alone could make a film a global hit. She was the emotional core of romantic comedies and the heartbeat of dramas. But what made Julia truly special wasn't her beauty. It was her authenticity. She showed that strength and vulnerability could coexist, that a woman could be funny, flawed, emotional, and still command the screen with power. Her roles inspired a generation of actresses, from Sandra Bullock to Anne Hathaway and even her niece, Emma Roberts, who proudly followed in her footsteps. Directors often said Julia didn't just act, she listened. She connected with people on and off camera, in ways that made audiences feel like they knew her. Her laugh became iconic, her walk unforgettable, her smile immortal, and beyond Hollywood. She used her platform for good, supporting UNICEF, education initiatives, and humanitarian causes around the world. While others chased fame, she quietly chose purpose. Today, Julia Roberts stands not just as a movie legend, but as a cultural symbol of resilience, grace, and light in a business built on illusion. Her smile, once a simple expression, became Hollywood's most enduring image of hope. Because behind that smile was a woman who survived heartbreak, outgrew perfection, and found joy on her own terms. Julia Roberts didn't just change the movies, she changed the way we believed in them. From a small-town dreamer in Georgia to the highest-paid actress in Hollywood, Julia Roberts' journey is a story of light born from struggle. She faced loss, heartbreak, and the relentless glare of fame. Yet somehow she never lost herself. Her power was never in perfection, it was in her humanity. She laughed when she was hurt, stood tall when she was judged, and kept smiling when the world demanded she break. Her story isn't just about success, it's about survival, about finding strength in softness, courage in vulnerability, and truth in imperfection. Julia Roberts didn't just conquer Hollywood, she redefined it. She showed that a woman could lead with warmth, grace, and resilience and still move mountains. Today, her smile remains a symbol of everything we love about the movies: hope, heart, and the promise that no matter how dark life gets, light always finds its way back. This is Julia Roberts, the woman who made Hollywood believe in magic again.